Chapter 1. This is a chapter on basically the introduction to real estate. There are a number of things that you're going to need to know in here to feel comfortable when you're moving into the business. First of all, you're going to have to know how property transfers. You're going to have to also understand market conditions and where we are right now in the current market. But probably more importantly, you're going to have to understand what the sales and marketing techniques are in this business. One of the important parts that you're going to need to kind of remember up front is that as a sales associate, you can't work for the public directly. That you have to place your license either with a licensed real estate broker or you have to place it with an unlicensed employer, either one. But you can't be employed by the public in the very beginning. Later, when you decide to get a broker license, you can. As far as getting started in the business, I think it's important that you know that farm areas are a great way for people to get started in the business. It's where you go out and develop a community, develop an area that you get to know people. It's a great way to begin your business. Also, one of the things that a lot of people don't do in this business is something called follow-up. And that is, our job is to not only find, but also to keep customers. And in order to keep customers, sometimes we have to do that follow-up. The various areas of real estate that's going to be important. First of all, residential. And let me explain what residential is. Residential real estate is any place that people go and live. It could be a single-family home, or it could be a 1,000-unit apartment complex. It doesn't matter. Those are all considered residential properties. Commercial properties, on the other hand, are those properties that are non-residential, such as warehouses, office buildings, shopping centers, those types of things. Every community has both residential and commercial properties. Some of our communities have a lot more industrial facilities than others. Industrial facilities include major warehousing centers and that type of thing. Our areas in Northwest Florida have a lot of agricultural areas. A lot of areas in Central Florida do also. As far as business brokerage is concerned, it's important to understand the business brokerage aspect because when you're talking about business brokerage, you're talking about selling both real estate but also personal property also. And the reason that you have to have a license to be able to practice business brokerage in the state of Florida, in most cases, that anytime that you sell a business, real estate is going to be part of it, whether it's in a lease situation or whether it's in a sale of a building. Property management has also become a very important part of our business as well. Property management is where we are managing other people's property. One of the reasons that property management has become so popular in our industry today is because of absentee ownership. And that's where you have individuals who don't live in our area, they've bought investment properties possibly, and they need somebody else to manage it for them. So absentee ownership has become very popular. Regarding appraising is another one of those parts of our industry that a lot of people don't understand. As a licensee, as a real estate sales associate or as a broker, we are not allowed to do appraisals. Most of your appraisals are used when we're trying to apply for a loan application. Most of your banks require an appraisal. In order to do an appraisal today, you have to be state certified by the state to be a state certified general or state certified residential appraiser. And let me say this, that as a licensee, we can do CMAs, that is a comparative or competitive market analysis, and we can even do those for a fee, but we cannot do an appraisal. The reason for that is that the appraising system is so complex that the state of Florida has outlined a number of things that appraisers have to do. It's called USPAP standards, the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraising Practice. It's a guideline that they have to use and go through in order to come up with their final conclusion. As far as a CMA is concerned, basically what we're doing with a CMA is that we're looking at other properties that have sold recently, looking at those. We're looking at properties that are currently on the market for sale, and we're also looking at expired listings. For us, this is part of what we do on a day-to-day basis. It's one of the tools that we use as far as getting new clients or new customers in listing appointments. As far as financing is concerned, let me caution you there also that in order for us to get involved with the financial industry, it takes a mortgage broker's license. Although we rely very heavily on the financial industry, as a licensee, we can't make loans. We can't be that person that does the work to obtain loans. So what we have to do is turn it over to somebody who specializes in that field. As far as development and construction is concerned, This is an area of real estate that is probably the foundation of our business. When we're talking about the development aspect, it has to do with buying raw land and then building something on it, whether it's residential or whether it's commercial. Anytime that a developer goes in and decides that they want to develop a subdivision or whatever it might be, the first thing that they've got to do is to get approval and get a subdivision plat map approved by either the city or county that they live in. That subdivision plat map approval is a process, and it takes a little bit of time to get done. I'll tell you what a lot of your developers will do today. As they develop these subdivisions, they have to make a choice. Do we want these subdivisions to be gated communities and private, or do we want to open it up? One of the things about the subdivisions, if they make it a gated community and they make it private, is that the homeowners have to contribute to the maintenance of the roads, the infrastructure, and everything else. Some of the subdivision and subdivision owners may not be able to afford that. So what the developer does up front is they make that decision and says, you know what, let's go ahead and dedicate the roads and infrastructure to either the city or county. Let them take care of it, and that way our homeowners don't have to worry about that bill. There may be some other things, but dedication is a process used to give up the rights to streets and infrastructure in a particular community. Once the development has been done, the next thing I think that you have to consider is construction. How do you go about constructing what's there or what you want to build there? There's two ways of looking at this. At one point in real estate history, there were a lot of builders going out, a lot of developers going out doing spec homes. Let me tell you what a spec home is. A builder or a developer has a lot. They decide to build a house on it in hopes of reselling it. And we were having a lot of that. In fact, there were a lot of builders that were selling homes before they were ever built. Those are considered to be spec. The other way of looking at this is going to be something called custom building. Now, custom building is where an owner owns a lot, and a builder simply comes in and builds on that particular lot. For test purposes, an easy way to remember the difference between the two is that in a spec build, the builder is building on his or her own lot in hopes of a resale, where custom building is building on the owner's lot with a specified plan. And so we want to make sure we understand that there's a difference in the two. The last thing in this chapter that I want to talk about a little bit is the role of government in terms of how we operate with government. Most of the government that we deal with today is going to be local government. And the reason I say that is that we deal with zoning and building codes and things of that nature more than we do anything else. So they're going to be important in terms of our ability to be able to maneuver through legal issues. The state of Florida, I think, is more interested in the environment. The Department of Environmental Protection is one of the big agencies that we have to deal with. So the state has their own issues and not typically building issues. The federal government, on the other hand, I think what their real role has to do with is the financing in the financial world. So when you stack them up, each one has a role, but probably the bigger role that we have to deal with right now is going to be having to do with local government. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and take a look and let's review for that chapter. To begin with, developers are required to get a subdivision plat map approved before they can start any project. Licensees can perform CMAs for a fee, but typically offer this as a fee for free. Appraisers are paid based on an amount of work done and not on a percentage value. Local governments determine zoning laws. An appraisal is a supported defended value of property rights as of a given date. That's the end of the summary for Chapter 1.